Did you know goldenrod makes an excellent tea?
Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear Aaron.
Me. You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Or what's inside. You suck. Finally, we're going to reveal the... Hey everybody, welcome back to Tomic's veteran of the comic book industry for 30 years I'm a writer, I'm an artist, and this sucks.
Stew, and her name is Minerva. She's the flower of the flower coach.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Here I am. Wow. Here I am. It's time for... My hat's on crooked. Hang on. Here we go. It's time once again for Aaron Live. I am, of course, Aaron. Welcome one, welcome all. It is Sunday, as it always is when I do this show, November 9th, 2025. We are less than 2 months away from 2026, the year of the communist. We'll see. As you can see, I'm only double layered today. So I'm not like completely freezing. I just got this shirt. Now, my daughter wanted me to, we were out doing something. She goes, "Oh, can we stop at Walmart?" I'm like, all right. And while I was there, I got a job application, but that's time for another story. So, or that's a story for another time. So she's looking for whatever she's looking for. And I'm, sitting in the men's section looking around, and they had these long sleeve shirts on sale. After like, I don't know, $12, $9.99 a piece, $12, something like that. And I love, especially in the wintertime, I love these kind of light t-shirty long sleeve things. And so I always put a shirt on underneath, and then I put one of these on. And then if I need to, I can put a jacket over the top of this. Now, today it was sunny, not warm, but not cold. It's pleasant. So I felt only the need to double up today instead of triple up. Although I do have a shirt right here and a coat under here I could throw on over the top if I was getting a little chilly. So my new shirt. So I'm supposed to fertilize my lawn. Now, we just got new grass put in September because they tell me that's, if you're going to replace your lawn, you want to do it in the fall, early fall. And so that's what I did. And we had to water like 3 times a day for 2 weeks. And it's taken very nicely. It looks really nice, as it always does when you get new grass. And then like a year later, it turns yellow and dies. And you're like, what did I just pay for? So I'm supposed to fertilize it like with winter fertilizer that helps it go dormant and yet feeds it so it comes back strong in the spring. It's very confusing scientific things that I don't really understand, but I'm willing to do as I'm told, since I invested, a decent amount of money in getting my front yard replaced. So I went to Home Depot to get this fertilizer, and they didn't have what I was looking for. So it's just becoming clear to me that every time you go to a retail store, regardless of what you're looking for, they're not going to carry hardly anything anymore. They expect you either to order it online and then they'll ship it to the store so you can go in and pick it up. And at that point, why don't I just go to Amazon and get it delivered in 2 days or whatever? The unfortunate thing is, it's like I said, it was nice today. I thought this would be a perfect time to do the winter fertilization, but I couldn't get the fertilizer. So now I'm going to have to get it on Amazon. It'll show up next week. Hopefully I can get like a couple days of dryness so I can go out there and put this fertilizer on so that my yard that I've invested in will look nice in the springtime. It's a pretty exciting story, but the lesson is, if you're a brick and mortar guy like I am, I mean, I like going to stores and I don't like necessarily shopping, but I like, if I know what I want, I like to go to the store, pick it up and have it. I don't like to have to order it, then wait for it to be delivered, or but we're coming to a point in reality and in the time that we live in where you can't even go unless you're going for a very broad thing that everybody else wants, because these stores, they just don't carry the different supplies that they used to. It's very depressing. Yeah, there you go. NPC Oasis is just a low nitrogen fertilizer. Exactly. Or so I've been told by my yard expert. So, but there's like good brands and bad brands, and it's just I went and did the give me the top best 5 or whatever, winter fertilizers. And of course, the ones that they recommend, they don't have. You have to order them. So I just want to do everything I can to make sure this lawn does not go belly up on me. Because what we had there before, and we lived in this house for 20 years or whatever, but 20 plus years, it was like half dirt and half weeds. That was my front yard. So I don't want that to happen again. So I'm trying to be maybe overly cautious, but there you go. Let's see who's here, shall we? MPC Oasis, the aforementioned, is here. Glitch from across the pond is joining us. Randy Howell says it's snowing. I assume Randy Howell, of course, is all the way from Canada, so we can assume that it's snowing in Canada right now. Pity Maw's here. Matthew Muma is joining us. Ink on Paper says he's unsure how he feels about Frankenstein. Well, I'm not. So I'm going to give you my feelings on Frankenstein, and then perhaps you will look at it and say, I think Aaron's right on the money. That's how I should feel about it. Marcus Killigo is here. Of course, he is the purveyor of all things pop culture knowledge. Paulus Arts joining us. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is almost always here. Timothy, let's take a look. Timotheus. I really enjoyed Frankenstein and was upset it ended. I wanted more. Now, I talked to David Williams about Frankenstein, and he thinks it's like Del Toro's masterpiece. So you're not alone. Pantheon's here. William Wellborn joining us. William, I assume at this point you have got all the artwork that I owe you. When did I ship that out? Maybe I didn't ship it out till Friday, so you might not get it till Monday. But anyway, yeah. William bought like a ton of... No, I'm sorry. It wasn't William Wellborn. It was Will Holloway. I apologize, William. It's not you. So us old people are easily confused by similar names. He says, I've got an appointment with an accountant. I'll catch the replay. Thanks for joining us, William. And I don't owe you, William, any artwork. It's the other Will that I owed artwork to. Let's see. Blue Boy's here. Been watching the show. It's been fun tonight. Thanks a bunch. The show's been on for like 30 seconds. So hey, you must be easy to please, Blue Boy. Darren Wagner is here. Oh, there you go. He goes, oh, it just started. I was watching a previous video. Well, that means that I'm constantly entertaining, I guess, no matter which show you're watching. Corum is here. Craig69 says he's not here, but I think he is. Let's see, your Best Age Comics. Iodine 74. Lord Hinson Comic Skater's joining us. Says you're looking forward to Wraith of God 3. So am I. We'll have an update on that actually in a few minutes. Well, in like a half hour, maybe. Gemini Dragon. Evening, Aaron. The lesson is know your crap. Yeah, it is. And I don't really know that much about lawns. And I don't want to know that much about lawns, but I'm since I paid for it, it's like the old thing, they say like, don't get your kids a car, make them buy their own car because then they'll appreciate it more. So if someone said, here, and let me gift you this lawn, I would have said, okay, whatever. Am I supposed to water, But when I paid to put it in, I'm like, okay, give me exactly what I'm supposed to do, exactly how I'm supposed to do it, because I'm going to do it, because I don't want this thing to die. He's a monster. And what says, what's love got to do with it? I don't know. Brian G is here. And let's see here. Everybody giving me lawn advice. I appreciate it. JP Roca joining us. People are demanding to know. When I say people, I know at least two. They wanted to know why we didn't have graybeards last week. Well, because my daughter-in-law was at home with the babies. My son was at work. My daughter-in-law got lightheaded and started feeling numb and freaked out and thought, oh my gosh, she could be stroking or something. And so my son called an ambulance for her. He went, and was there, and he called and said, we're not sure what's up, if anything's wrong with her or whatever. So I was sort of on call because we might have had to leave at any minute to go down there and watch the kids so he could go to the hospital. As it turned out, it was just fatigue and flu symptoms. So it was nothing major, but we didn't know. So I didn't want to start graybeards and have to cut it right, 30 minutes into the show and go, up, gotta go. So I thought it would be better to cancel. So that's what happened there. But everybody's fine. So, but that's why we canceled I canceled graybeards. Since I'm the one who runs the show, they can't actually do it without me. So it makes me feel special. There is Will Holloway, who I do all the artwork to. He said, didn't get the second set yet, but the mail around here bucks. So he probably means sucks. I'm using Pirate Ship now instead of stamps.com because stamps.com keeps glitching on me. And it's so frustrating. Like sometimes the labels just won't print. And I thought, well, it's my printer, it's my internet. But no, it isn't, because when I use a different mail program, I haven't had any trouble. The thing with stamps.com, though, is they send you out an email letting you know it's on its way, right? Now, with Pirate Ship, I'm not sure if they send the email or not. They ask for your email. It's optional. So I always put in everybody's email with the assumption that they're sending out a notice, but I don't know that they are. So that's the only thing. But at least with Pirate Ship, I haven't had any issues. The bummer is we've done our previous campaigns on stamps.com. So it has all the information for you guys that have ordered more than once. All that address and stuff is already in there. So we just put the name in and boink, the address comes up. Not going to happen with Pirate Ship. It's going to be like day one, entering manually everybody's address like they're a new customer. So that's kind of a bummer, but it's much more, I would rather do that than have to deal with my printer just not connecting with stamps.com and paying for a label that I don't get. It's just a hassle. So there you go. I don't know what the real point of all that was, except to tell you that your artwork's on its way, Will, and you should get it soon. Sequential Treasures is here. James is speculating that there's got to be some Zeck Spider-Man covers in your list. It would seem like there probably would be. Gemini Dragon is here. Corey Landis. He says he watched Frankenstein last night. Good costuming. Yeah, we'll get into it. Don't get me off track here. 10-8 Comics. Spaceman. Michelle Bowers with sword in hand is here. Paul Taylor, our resident biologist from Canada, says, my brother wanted my dad to buy him a car at Christmas that year. My brother got the exact same Matchbox car in his stocking. That's excellent. I like that. Did we say hi to Pity Ma? I think we did. He's a Monsters here. Okay, well, I have Pantheon says I treat my lawn like a redheaded stepchild, let it die. but it always comes back greener than it ever. It's like a chick, you don't pay attention to them and they will desire you more. Yeah, my lawn, however, would not agree with you because that is not what happened with me. Now we have crappy soil in this neighborhood. Because you know what they do? They like when you're in a new neighborhood, and this was new when we moved in. It's now 25 years old, but you know, they do the construction, and what they do is they bury all like the concrete chunks and the pieces of wood and all. They bury it in your yard, right? It's like poltergeist, except it's not like dead people. It's just construction debris. They bury it and then they give you like 2 inches of topsoil over the top of that crap, and then nothing grows. And you're like, why? So I had new soil put in. I did the whole 9 yards. So we'll see if this grass sticks. There's Stealth X5 for $2 saying hello. Thank you, Stealth. Appreciate it very much. Eric Boyd is here. I think I got everybody. I don't know what this means, but it's rather disturbing. It says, He's a Monster says, my spirit animal is Jason Voorhees, part 6. Who wants to be my Frankenstein? Who wants to be? Oh, I see. It's a 2-part thing. My spirit animal is Jason Voorhees, part 6, comma, who wants to be my Frankenstein bride? I think that's what that is saying. Now, Pity Ma, look at lawn equals lime and fertilizer pre-winter and spring. Okay. Well, I'm asking the guy who installed it because he ought to know. And because he knows what grass he put in, and there's like different things for different kind of grasses. Like if you live in Florida, for example, we had a great lawn, but it was like this real thick, heavy, almost plastic like grass. It was like crabgrass, but that's what grows best in Florida. So if you're in Oregon, you're like, I don't want crabgrass, but in Florida, it makes this nice, thick, green lawn, really nice looking. But here we have a totally different kind of grass. In fact, did you know that there's more different types of grass grown in Oregon than in any other state? So if you have hay fever, this is the worst state to live in. There you go. There he goes. Iodine says that's St. Augustine. That's a nice name for crabgrass, I guess. Yeah, so but I will say this. We did water it regularly. Of course, in Florida, it's not, in the summer, even when it's hot in Florida, it's still like so humid. There's like so much moisture in the air. I don't know how essential it is to really water your lawn all that much in Florida, because it seems like it's getting watered all the time anyway. There we go. There's another, was it St. Augustine? There we go. That has wide, thick, yes, wide, thick blades, yes. So I guess there's certain climates you do different grasses. So anyway, hopefully in the springtime I won't be reporting to you that my grass sucks. I'll be going, it's beautiful, because it's beautiful right now. It's lush, it's green, it's thick, it's full. I'm raking the leaves off of it. Normally I just let the leaves fall on it and just die. But nope, I'm keeping it clean. I'm doing everything I can. We're past the stage of watering now because it's raining all the time. But I didn't intend to talk about grass this whole time. We've been, we're here, been 17 minutes, and that's all I've done is talk about grass. Okay. So, great big show today. We're doing everything today. I have all the stuff that you're used to. We're going to cover today, starting with this.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Okay, so I went to Whole Foods yesterday. I went to the pharmacy, I went to CVS pharmacy. We used to be Rite Aid, and then Rite Aid went under, and so CVS bought all of them, or maybe CVS bought them, and they closed like a bunch of locations. I don't know. But anyway, so all of our, so I have to go to CVS now. And so I went to the pharmacy to pick up some drugs. And then it's right next door to a Whole Foods market, right? So I said, maybe I should go into Whole Foods because I hadn't had lunch yet and I was kind of hungry. And you don't go food shopping when you're hungry. But they had like pizza by the slice in Whole Foods and they were huge. So I said, I'm getting one of those. Then I saw this box of double chocolate cookies. And I thought, well, it's Whole Foods. It's got to be good for you, right? So I bought a box. And so here we go. So it's like these chocolate cookies with chocolate chips in them. And I've been eating them like candy. So while we contemplate this delicious double chocolate cookie from Whole Foods that I'm eating, let's see what Frank Frazetta has to offer us this week. It wasn't one of my favorite Frazettas when I was a kid, but I've come to appreciate it quite a bit more. I like the color. It's a yellow purple complementary is what it looks like. And I like the statue, the Greek statue warrior thing. And the sort of pillars and stuff behind it, and he had the reflection in the water. It's actually, for what looked like kind of a dull, simple piece, is actually quite interesting and complex. So how about that? And that was our 93rd Frazetta. So that means we'll do 6 more, and then on the 7th one, that will be the 100th Frazetta of the week, and then we're going to do a special show on Frazetta, which I will invite my friends Dan Lawless, and probably Gary Martin is a big Frazetta guy too. And we'll go over Frazetta for 2 hours. It'll be fun. I don't know. Is that going to happen? 94, 95, 96. It might be like practically a New Year's Eve show. It might be crazy like that. That might exactly be how it plays out. We shall see. I had one of the Frazetta grandsons want to come on. And I was kind of, because there's sort of a split in the family, and I don't know if they get along, because I know that there's the Florida Frazettas and the Pennsylvania Frazettas, and they're both doing their own thing. And so I don't know if there's animosity or anything going on there. So I was kind of, because if I invited a Frazetta on, that's the first thing I would ask him. And I don't know if maybe that wouldn't be the most appropriate thing to ask, but that's like, that's kind of like the stuff you want to know, right? Pity Ma says, how about reaching out to Sarah Frazetta? She is awesome. I should. Billy knows her. Billy knows everybody, Hey, last week we had Pat Broderick on and Mike Barron, and I had never had Pat Broderick on. So occasionally I do bring on people that we haven't had before. Everybody's saying, get Frazetta on, get Frazetta on. Okay. I'll see what I can do. Guys, you know how I am about getting guests. It's like, mainly because I get tired of being turned down. I'm like, what did I do? But anyway. Okay. So, someone emailed me yesterday and said, hey, what's up with Wraith of God 3? When are we going to get the book? And I was like, ooh, I haven't done an update like in a month. So I did an update yesterday, or maybe it was Friday. It's probably yesterday. I can't remember. But anyway, so if you back the campaign, you should have got the update. And but if you didn't, or if you didn't want to read it because you're like, I don't care, that's how I am. I ordered a book from somebody, and then whenever it shows up, it shows up. I just don't worry about it. And I know some of you are like that. And other people are like, hey, I paid good money for this. Where is it? And I totally understand that too. So I wanted to wait until I had actually a printer date for the book before I sent out the next one, but it's taken longer. It always does, because what happens is you go through the whole process, the editorial process. Like I said in the update, when I when I closed down the campaign, I still had coloring. I had 15 pages to still get colored. I had to get the book lettered. I had to get it proofread. Then I had to get it fixed after we found the proofreading mistakes. And then I had to get all that stuff to the my designer who puts the book together for the printer. And then after he does that, of course, then I find more mistakes. And I'm like, ugh. So then I have to have him redo it after I fix the mistakes. He sends it in, and then they send me, finally, they get the hard proof back, which I just got. And there was some stuff with the hard proof I wasn't happy with. So then I had to go back in and get that stuff fixed and then go back to the printer. So it's this, when you're in mainstream comics and you're turning around monthly books every 30 days, unless there's something egregious, you just let it go. I try not to do that, obviously, because I want you guys to have the best book that I can do. But it's amazing to me how many mistakes. You'll get it proofread, you'll check the art, you'll do all this stuff, and you'll say, okay, it looks great. And then you won't look at it for a week, and then you'll get something back from the printer and you'll go, oh my gosh, how did I not see that? How did I not see that? And then you got to go in and fix it. And then at some point you just got to stop, because it's like, I got to get this book out. So I think we're done fixing stuff. And so, but now, since I got the hard copy, and I asked my printer, I said, if I make a couple more changes, is this going to slow this down? Because the changes were annoying, but they weren't like, some people probably wouldn't even notice. But I was like, I want to fix this. And they said, yeah, it won't delay anything. So I said, okay. So I fixed it in a day and then got it, turned back around. So I'm assuming that I'm going to get the printer date and ship date this week from the printer, because usually once they give you the hard copy, they're ready to rock and roll. So hopefully it won't be more than a couple of weeks, but this is very true right here. You have to remember, monthly books have an entire team overseeing the editorial and production side, which is true. There's just me over here. And it is kind of frustrating, because if you had like 4 or 5 different people looking at it, usually everything gets caught. But if it's the same person looking at it over and over again, you're like, I don't know. It's weird. It's just like you don't see stuff, because a lot of times they'll send you a proof and you're checking for something, but you're thinking, well, the color is fine. I don't have to worry about the color. But then when you're done checking all the balloon placement, all that kind of stuff, then you look at it differently. You're like, wait a minute, that's not the right color. How did that, So anyway. But I found these laying around here. Maybe you'll recognize these. This, of course, is the first printing. See how that signature got smeared? So this is like kind of a reader copy. This is Wraith of God #1. And there is a mistake in here, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. You have to find it on your own. That somehow got through the editorial process. So anyway, nice book. If you wanted to get a copy of this, let's say you ordered Wraith of God 3, or let's say you haven't ordered any of them. You don't even know what I'm talking about. Go to my website. You'll find a link in the description of this video, and it's pinned in the chat, the top of the chat. You can order these. Now, you can't order this one because this is sold out, but there is a second printing with a new cover of Wraith of God 1 that you can get your hands on. And this is, it's like 79 pages of story. It's like 84 pages, I think, total. There's a, one of the variant covers of the first printing was a Dale Keown werewolf cover. But I also put it in here as a pinup, but I did it in black and white. So everybody got the Dale Keown werewolf, but if you wanted it colored, you had to get the cover. I've got a couple copies of every cover first printing, but those are mine. I'm keeping them for posterity. And then, of course, there's Wraith of God 2, which may be the greatest value you'll ever find in crowdfunding. This thing is 103 pages, I think, of story. There's like over 100 pages of story in here. Or no, I'm sorry. It's like 97 pages. Whatever. There's 56, 16, 16, and 14. That's 32, 46, 56. 46, yeah, it's like 102 or 103 pages. Yeah, something like that. And then plus there's, extra pages in here. So it's like, I don't know what this ended up being, but it's pretty darn thick. Anyway, because it has 3 backup stories in it. It has the first appearance of Kit Carter. If you're a Kit Carter fan, and you're like, well, I got the graphic novel, but yeah, right there, baby. Right here, first appearance Kit Carter is right here in this Wraith of God 2, which you can also order on my website. Now, it's easy for me to say stuff, right? But what proof do I have that anything I'm saying is even remotely true? Well, take a look at this. So here's the, look at that. That's the sculpture trading card. There's like information on the back all about sculpture. The trunk trading card. This is stuff you guys all get for ordering. Trunk, that's the elephant guy from Nightclub. And we've also got the Art to Bear black and white Garbage Man card. It's going to be cool. Let me say, okay, Aaron, well, that's just trading cards. Well, what about this? What about the Nightclub shot glass, laser etched for your drinking enjoyment? Now, I use this for iced tea and shots of eggnog, but you can drink whatever you want to out of it. And this is part of the, there's a set of 6 of these. This is the 4th. And so, yeah, so these are done. Nana, my mom, is going to be packing them pretty soon. The work I can get out of a 94-year-old woman is remarkable. Poker chips. Remember these? I don't have the Esther one. I just grabbed these 2 real quick. So these are the poker chips. And look at this. Individually wrapped. Each poker chip has its own little case. Oops. And on the back, Empire Comics logo. Isn't that cool? So it's a set of 3 poker chips. So everybody that ordered the set will get 3 poker chips, but individually wrapped. That's how much I care for you guys. So those are in. And then how about this? I think this is my shirt. I think I ordered enough that I could have one. I can't remember. But I'm going to open it. So we've all seen the Keown werewolf shirts, right? But have you seen the Bisley shirt? Well, you're about to. Okay. So that smells weird. So look at Aaron Lopresti's Wraith of God right on the label. How cool is that? Okay. And but here we go. This is like the important part. So they all come individually wrapped, these shirts. Of course, they have the size on them, but there it is. Yeah, baby, Wraith of God. Now, the color you're seeing is on my screen is not exactly accurate, but kind of get the idea. So this is kind of like a really kind of cool rock and roll shirt. It's getting washed out because of my camera lighting here, but 50-50 blend, so it doesn't shrink. It's nice form fitting without being, too tight or uncomfortable. So the shirts are done. The shot glasses are done. The poker chips are done. The trading cards are done. The limited edition Wraith of God Nouveau print, signed and numbered by me because I drew it. These are done. Now they have to be rolled and put in tubes, which we'll get Grandma working on that soon enough. But so there's that. And so that's pretty much all the extra stuff. Now the sketchbook is being done by the printer as well, and I just got the hardcover proofs for the sketchbook. Show you what these look like. You know what I should do? Next time I have a garage sale, I should get rid of some of these proofs. I should sign the proofs. So so they send you these folded proofs, right? That has the pages. I'm not going to show you the pages inside, but it's black and white on the inside, and it's not trimmed, obviously. You can see the trim lines right there in the corner where the book is going to be trimmed. So you're supposed to look at this and go, okay, everything's in the trim where it's supposed to be, and it's going to look fine. Cut it. The back. So there you go. There's my little cold crocodile press. So everything that I publish that's an art book is published by Cold Crocodile Press, right? And Empire Comics is a label underneath the Cold Crocodile Press banner. So comic books or graphic novels get the Empire logo on them. Books or art books get the, I mean, this also has the Empire Comics thing on it, but it also gets the Cold Crocodile Press logo on it. That's a alligator with an egret standing on his nose with a palette, a paint palette. I don't know if you can see that. And he's dripping paint on the alligator's nose. It's one of my favorite logos I've ever done because I did it for me. So why wouldn't it be? And then look at this. This is the hard copy proof of Wraith of God Fear Hollow. Okay. So you have this, you open the book and you get the title page, right? Copyright page, which looks exactly like all the other copyright pages, except the copyright information or the date is different here, issue number and date. And then of course the ISBN number is different. And I can show you this because you guys have already seen these on the web page or the campaign page, right? So then you've got, and you can see where all the trim lines are. And so this is page 1, right? And then we've seen this page as well. And that goes on the back side. And so basically you're supposed to go in here and check all your trim lines and everything else and make sure that, you know, it's good to go, because once I okay this, if it comes back screwed up, it's my fault. And if I want it fixed, then I got to pay to fix it. So we try to cover everything, but it's hard. But anyway, so, and I think what I'll do is I've got huge proof sheets of like Kit Carter, and I should like put those in a garage sale because they're not doing anything except gathering dust. So maybe next garage sale, I'll get rid of all these hard proofs if you guys are into that. Okay, so that is all the proof that I can give you that this campaign is not a grift, but it actually is going to be fulfilled. Unfortunately, as I said in my update that I sent out a couple days ago, I don't have the power to make them print something quicker. So sometimes they'll go, oh yeah, we'll get this by the end of December, or, oh, we'll get it in 2 weeks, or maybe we'll get it in 4 weeks. I just, and whatever they tell me, that's what it is. And because I'm a small press and, you know, we're only doing, I think 2,400 copies or something like that. It's not like I'm doing, you know, 50,000 copies or so, and I can, you know, go, hey, a little special treatment, please. But I do have a good rep, and she does take care of me. And a lot of the guys, Billy, Graham, Andy, I think Art, the professionals anyway, are working with the same printer rep, and she's great. And but again, we have what power we have, which is turn it in and hope for the best. So like I said, I don't have the turnaround time, but I should this week get an idea of when they expect this thing to be done. Eric and Boyd, I never thought your campaign was a grift, unlike others I will not mention. Well, I don't want anybody to start thinking it is. I mean, this is my 5th campaign. I've delivered on all of them. 1, 2, 3. This is my, Garbage Man got canceled. And then I went through Dark Horse and published it. But everybody got their money back. But since I actually started doing this full time, this is the 4th campaign. So no, it isn't. was Wraith 1, Wraith second printing, Wraith 2, Kit Carter, Wraith 3. So this is the 5th campaign. So everything before has been fulfilled. And I always hate putting dates. They ask you for a date on Indiegogo. When is this going to be completed? It's just a ballpark because you just have stuff comes up and you redraw pages, which I do if I think it sucks, and you put yourself behind the 8 ball. And so it's hard to say exactly. So it's hard to meet a schedule. Graham's really good at doing it. I'm not as much. Billy and I are guys, and Andy's really good at meeting his deadlines as too. But Billy and I are more of, it gets done, but it may not always be right when we think it's going to get done. But we always get it done and get it shipped out to you guys. And I hope that by now you trust my track record. But anyway, so it'll be coming soon, and hopefully sooner than later. And there you go. So I wanted to give you a Wraith of God 3 update. That is a pretty detailed, all that I know as of this moment. So, all right. So, moving right along. Let me get a little beverage here. Don't get excited. It's just water. I don't have anything from Barbaric to show you yet, which is my next thing, because I haven't started working on it yet. Because I've been working on Zorro Lives, which is a miniseries for Alien Books, and I've been working on putting out fires with Wraith of God 3, which they go until last person's got their book. You're always constantly putting out some fire. But so anyway, as soon as I have stuff from Barbaric that I can show you, I will show you. But that's down the road. It's a few months from now. But I want to keep it fresh in your mind because it will be coming up before you know it. Okay, let's talk about Frankenstein. Let's talk about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, which premiered on Netflix this past Friday. And I watched it because I've been waiting. I wanted to see it in the theaters, but it wasn't playing anywhere near me. So I watched it on I got a big screen, but not like what most people have these days. But for when we got it, pretty decent sized screen. So, it was a decent experience. Plus, it was like 2 hours and 20 some minutes long. So, it's old folks. If you have to go to the bathroom, it's nice that you can put it on pause and go to the bathroom and come back. No one wanted to watch it with me. Shelly was like, nah, I don't think so. My daughter's like, I want nothing to do with that. So it was just me and my dog. And I don't think my dog was really paying attention. So I watched it, and a couple things of interest, if I may. Before we get into the meat of it, I do want to point out that a couple of Wrightson's illustrations were brought to life in this movie, which I thought was a nice little homage to Bernie. And I call Bernie like we're friends, but he never remembered me. But I did meet him like 5 times, so I guess I can call him Bernie. This isn't exactly a recreation, but if you haven't seen the movie, the opening shot opens in the North Pole, and the ship is way off in the distance, and we're looking at the ice flow, and it kind of camera moves in like this. And I thought it's not bumpy like this. So it's not exactly a reproduction of the shot. So you could say, Aaron, they didn't really reproduce that Wrightson shot, but I'm kind of giving him a little credit because I know that Del Toro has a ton of Wrightson originals from this book. In fact, he may own all of them now, is what I've heard. That he owns all of them. It's probably not true, but maybe he owns all of them that he could get his hands on. I know he owns a good many of them. So I kind of felt this was represented in it. Now, the two that are obvious, and this one is brutally obvious. And when I say brutally, it's a good thing. It's just so obvious that he did this. There's a shot early on of Victor Frankenstein sitting in his window, writing his notes or whatever. And I know Wrightson stuff so well. When I saw that shot, I was like, oh my gosh, that is this print from the Frankenstein book. And so I thought that was kind of cool that he reproduced this scene, if you will, or just, another great illustration by Wrightson. When you can take an illustration of some dude sitting in a window writing notes and make it something really, really cool, that's when you know you got something going on. And then the last one. Now, the unfortunate thing about this movie, spoiler alert, is I was hoping that we were going to get the Wrightson version of the creature, and we did not. But this scene, this shot of him looking through the wall of a shop into the house of this family and their blind grandfather is pretty much like this. And so I thought that was another kind of like nod to Wrightson. Now, it could be to a certain degree that Wrightson obviously did his illustrations inspired by the novel, and Del Toro's version of this version of Frankenstein is supposedly, and I've never read the novel because it's too freaking boring. I can't get through it. But this is supposed to be the most accurate representation of the novel ever put on screen. So, it may just be the similarities that they both had sources, the same, drawing from the same source. But I know Del Toro is obviously very familiar with this illustration, and I think it was represented. The scene represented this illustration pretty nicely in the movie. But it's that one where he's sitting in the window that was like, whoa, that's Wrightson. Okay, so let's talk about the movie beyond that. I felt it wasn't what I wanted. Okay, but that doesn't mean it wasn't a good movie. I think it was a good movie. Was it a great movie? David Williams thinks it was a great movie. I'm not going to go there, but because I did have some problems with it, which we'll get to. But overall, I thought it was good. I thought it was well done. It was very well acted. The production value was off the charts. It was amazing to look at. It was long. It was slow, but I don't think it was boring. I was never at a point where I was like, can we speed it up, please? But it is a long movie, and it is slowly paced. Let's put it that way. Which I don't have a problem with, as long as you're not boring me. And I don't think this bored me at all. I thought it was very interesting. One of the things that I liked was how they framed it. So the movie starts with this ship locked in the ice, which we just saw the picture that Wrightson did, searching for the North Pole or trying to get to the North Pole, whatever their goal was. And they're trapped in the ice. They see this fire in the distance and they go check it out. And it's Victor Frankenstein laying there half dead and the doctor. And so they pick him up, take him back to the ship. And then the monster comes looking for him. And there's all this stuff with the monster. You've seen the clip from the trailer where he's covered up in the hood and he's on the ship throwing guys around and, he's pushing the ship around like he's the Incredible Hulk or whatever. And that's really awesome. And, you're kind of on the edge of your seat. This is really cool. The mystery of it all and kind of the horror of it. These guys trapped in the middle of nowhere with this creature. They don't understand what's going on. All they know is it's violent and super strong and they can't stop it. So that's really cool. Okay. So that's how we start the movie. So it draws us right in with this sort of action, suspenseful sequence. And then we get to, after they ward off the monster the first time, then Victor Frankenstein kind of comes to and he tells the captain his tale. Then there's this part where it comes up and says, the tale of Victor Frankenstein, or part one, the tale of Victor Frank, something like that. It felt like it was Monty Python doing the Holy Grail, where they'd go, the story of Sir Lancelot, and then they'd tell that, it was kind of like, did we need that? I just thought it was a little glib. It was almost like this is a very, serious, dramatic picture. And it just seemed goofy to me. Now, that just may be me, but so it says Victor's Tale or whatever exactly it said. Part 1, Victor's Tale. And then it goes into Victor recounting how he became, his youth and his relationship with his dad and his mother. And then how he became this, crazy scientist trying to defeat death. And they introduce a character played by Christopher Waltz, from Inglourious Bastards and Django, and he becomes Victor's benefactor. He's like, I'll pay for all your experiments, but he doesn't really tell him why he's willing to do that. And so he gets the financial, and this is a character that's not in the novel. This is something that Del Toro created, maybe to better link up Elizabeth, the love interest, because that's his niece, the benefactor's niece. Christopher Waltz's niece is Elizabeth. But in this version, and I don't know if this is in the book or not, but she's engaged to his brother, to Victor's brother. But of course, Victor falls in love with her. And so let's just say, without spoiling anything, I thought Christopher Waltz's character served a purpose, but then his ultimate role in the film left me a little unsatisfied. Let's just put it that way, and I'll leave it at that. So, like I said, I don't want to ruin anything for anybody. So that was one. That's a mild criticism, but there you go. The second thing that I had a problem with Meredith 2005 says, were we getting the whole movie spoiled, aren't we? No, I'm not. No spoilers. I'm just giving you some tidbits. So this is Elizabeth, who they set her up as she's very much a kindred spirit to Victor. So she knows the experiments he's doing, and she's very sympathetic to it. She's very odd, has a very strange, detached personality that seems to fit well with him, but she doesn't have an affair with him. Spoiler. But suffice to say, when she sees the monster for the first time, and they know Victor's working towards this, creating a creature, but she doesn't have any idea that he's going to pull it off, but she's fascinated by the whole process. She had this sort of like romantic, understated, but romantic attraction to this monster that I felt was not properly developed. And so the whole depiction of the creature himself, he's like this really good looking guy with scars, right? So I wanted a monster. You got really a sympathetic, you got the Prometheus, right? That's the modern Prometheus was the subtitle of Frankenstein. And I guess that's what we got here. So Victor Frankenstein is completely unlikable in this entire film. He's the villain, and the creature is the hero. Now, that doesn't mean there isn't blood and gore, and he doesn't have to defend himself from, people that don't understand and all that kind of stuff. But this is very much a gothic, I'm not going to say romance, because there's not like a lot of romance in it, but it has that sort of gothic-y, dark, romantic sort of flavor to it, so it doesn't really present it presents itself as a human drama, not really a horror film. So if you're looking for a horror film, you're going to be disappointed. There's plenty of gross, there's some gross stuff in this, but in terms of the violence and the depiction of violence and of course the corpses and all that kind of crap, but it's not a horror film. And And so I had a little trouble with the relationship of Elizabeth with the creature. I don't know. Now David Williams argued that he totally bought it and felt it was, that it was set up well enough. I didn't. And that's just an opinion, right? That's subjective, right? So, and again, I'm not spoiling the monster because this stuff is all over the freaking internet. And I wish, kind of like Nosferatu, where they never released pictures of what the vampire looked like. They were too eager to release pictures of what Frankenstein looked like. And you can see this looks like a romantic interlude between him and Elizabeth. It is, but it isn't. It's a very strange scene. And again, I was kind of like, it just happened too quickly for me. I just didn't buy it. But despite as weird as they set her up to be, I still think you see something like this and you're going to be stunned by it, maybe horrified by it at first, and then you're going to sort of maybe come around later, but that's not how it was played out. So I was disappointed that it wasn't more of a horror film, or at least that the monster wasn't more of a monster. But as a human drama, as a gothic human drama, it was good. And I just had a couple of problems, and that part with Elizabeth and the part with Christopher Watts didn't pay off for me like I thought it should. And I would have also liked to have seen the conflict between the monster and Victor Frankenstein, like when Victor Frankenstein is hunting him down, which is, I don't know if that's a large portion of the book or not, but it feels like it could have been, but then it's a different film, right? That becomes like this action adventure horror film that maybe I really wanted to see instead of all this romantic, emotional human drama that is fine, but so what can I say in conclusion here? I thought it was well done for what it was, and it did have a couple of things that didn't work for me, but apparently worked for others. So it's hard for me to give it just a total, well, you shouldn't have done it that way. And of course, me wanting more conflict between the monster and Victor Frankenstein, that's just me making a different movie instead of accepting what I got. And so I try to judge it based on what Del Toro presented to me and what he was trying to achieve. And I think he did a good job. I think he covered the ground he wanted to cover. I think he made the points he wanted to make. It was very interesting. And I guess I'll say entertaining, but maybe not in the way that you would expect it to be. So I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. So B+, I guess, because I guess 4 stars would be an A, and then 5 stars would be an A+, right? Like a great, great film. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. And that was just because I thought a couple of the characterizations, like the subplots, didn't really work the way I thought they could have or should have. And like I said, there were moments in it that were kind of glib, and I was just kind of like, that seems inappropriate to me for the tone of this film. Because once Victor completed his tale, then the monster tells his tale. So it says, the monster's tale, part 2, or whatever. And you're just like, do we really need that? Can't we just go into it? But anyway, those are minor criticisms. So overall, a wonderful looking film, high production value, really good acting, thematically really strong, but not exactly what I was hoping for. So there you go. A Serious Man says 3 of 5 is a C. No, 2.5 would be an average film, the way I look at it. If you give it 2.5 stars, you're saying this is an average film. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just, it's just there. 3 stars is a good film, but it's not great. 3.5. I mean, I probably could have pushed it to 4. I mean, depending, if it was a 4-star film, if you had a 4-star rating, I'd give it 3. How's that? Is that better? The 5-star thing is a little, I gave Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan 4 stars. I would rather watch that than this. So there you go. So again, I'm not saying it's bad at all. I'm saying it's good. I think you should watch it. If you're into this kind of film, you should watch it. It's good. It's just came up a little short. And to be honest with you, if the Frankenstein creature had looked scarier, I probably would have liked it better. Because I just, looking at the Frankenstein monster as this like sort of romantic, sympathetic lead, I was like, whatever. He's not really a monster. He's just kind of a misunderstood dude. And it's kind of like, come on. What did Aaron give the original Star Wars? If it was 5 stars rating, I would give the original Star Wars 3.5. If it was a 4-star rating, I'd give it 3. Again, I thought it was good. It was entertaining. It was a landmark film, but it was very formulaic. So, but yeah, Rocky Macabre, you're right. I mean, he's adapting the book. It was written by an 18-year-old girl. And that's kind of what it feels like, And, David had made the suggestion, Williams and I had this conversation yesterday, that I am poisoned because of the Universal stuff. And, it's more of a monster movie than Frankenstein was ever really intended to be. But again, I'm just saying for my personal tastes, but I thought it was good. So I'm not saying it's a bad film. It's not. It's a good film, but it just wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I thought he made a couple of missteps in there story-wise that could have strengthened it and maybe got it up to a 4 or a 4.5 for me. But there you go. Darren, come on now. The 1931 version with Frederick March is killer. Now, I haven't seen the 1922 silent version with Barrymore, but come on. 1931 with Frederick March, Academy Award winner, Best Actor. That film kicks butt. Directed by Ruben Mamoulian. So, okay, that's not a fair question because I love John Carter, and I thought John Carter was a good film. if it had been cast better, I think it would have been a much better film. But in terms of the story, the directing, I just think he needed a more charismatic lead in the John Carter role, but I thought it was good. I actually really liked that film. So. But don't ask me about John Carter because I'm a sucker for that. So that movie, it might be a lot of fun to watch, but that is not a good movie. Now, come on now. Here's a serious man. He says, I can't disagree. I liked it, but it didn't snap. I agree. That's a good way of putting it. Son of Frankenstein with Basil Rathbone was my favorite. I can't watch Son of Frankenstein anymore because if you've seen Young Frankenstein, Basil Rathbone in Son of Frankenstein really overacts in some scenes, and Gene Wilder does it so perfectly. He's making fun of Basil Rathbone's performance in Son of Frankenstein, which I didn't really realize until I saw Young Frankenstein. Then I go back and watch Son of Frankenstein. I'm like, whoa. I like Son of Frankenstein a lot, but Basil Rathbone had some scenes where he was like, man, where's the director reeling him in? So there you go. But I think, if you can agree that Frankenstein was a good film, whether you give it 5 stars or 3.5 or whatever, it's still a good film. So there you go. Now, Young Frankenstein is a 5-star film. That is, as Tarantino would say, that's one of his perfect films. And I would agree. He's got Jaws on that list, which I agree is a perfect film. He's got Back to the Future, which I guess if you look at it, and I guess a perfect film means for what it is, you couldn't have done it any better. I guess that's a perfect film, right? And so you might argue that Back to the Future is a perfect film. But I certainly think that Jaws is perfect, and Young Frankenstein would be on my list of perfect films as well. I just absolutely love that movie. But there you go. That's neither here nor there, I guess, right? Okay, let's move on from old Frankenstein, and hopefully I didn't spoil it too bad for those of you who haven't seen it yet. And let's open up my creaky old flat files. If I can find the freaking intro. Where is my intro? So annoyed with myself. I erased some stuff, and now when you erase videos, it like shifts the location of it. Now I can't find. There it is. Okay, let's. Yeah, you know what I thought might be kind of fun is take a look at my sketches. I could be doing this on Graybeard Studio, I guess, because a lot of these are from Graybeard Studio. But I have right here, I hold in my hand a book full of 9x12 sketches, pieces of art. They're more than sketches, less than finished pieces. I don't know what you would call them. Eric Boyd says actually dipped out during the review. There you go. Didn't ruin it then. So let's see if I can get my camera to focus. Look at that mess. Look at that mess. This is why it's so hard for me to get ready for Graybeard Studio, because this drafting table gets covered with crap. And then I got to clean it up before I do the show. Let's take a look. Werewolf by Night is sitting here in the I saw David Finch did a Werewolf by Night piece, and I was like, man, that looks really cool. So I said, I'm going to do a Werewolf by Night piece. And I didn't copy what he did, but and I looked at this and I did it and I went, man, that looks really good. And then I looked at Finch's piece and I went, God, this sucks. But anyway, so there's Werewolf by Night. Every once in a while, you got to do a man thing. So when I get bored, I draw the man thing. Now, many of you remember this. This is an acrylic painting I did trying to get ready to do my Kit Carter movie poster. So I was like, I need to get a feel for this paint and how I'm going to do this. And so that's what this was. And I was really pleased with how it turned out. This, of course, is Dark Wolf from Fire and Ice. Another Man Thing piece. Now, here's, I did this the night before Halloween. And, you know, it's supposed to be Karloff. And I think it looks like Karloff, but you know what it does? The Frankenstein monster in this picture looks annoyed. He doesn't look scary. He looks annoyed. And that's what kind of pisses me off about the piece. But I stuck it in there anyway. Even though I got a ton of work into it, it's got a lower price because he looks like he's annoyed. Like, Aaron, shut up. That's what he's thinking. You know? Of course, some of you may remember the Pogo character smoking in the swamp. That's good times right there. Another, I was working with acrylics, trying to get him to do what I wanted to do. So I did this Red Sonja piece. Although her hair looks kind of like it's styled, doesn't it? It doesn't look like it's a barbarian chick hair. It looks like she has styled hair. Now, this is a nice Spider-Man piece I did that I still have, which is kind of surprising to me. What else we got here? Conan. Cut off a big giant's head there. Another Man-Thing painting. This was the very first acrylic painting I did in preparation to kind of get in the groove for the Kit Carter movie poster. Mr. Miracle, the Spirit, and Pigel or Pigel, whatever her name is, the villainess from the Spirit. Will Eisner's The Spirit. These are both Graybeards. I got on a cereal kick and was doing cereal icons because I did a Frankenberry piece. And so, and then I started going, well, maybe I should do Count Chocula, which I did. And I said, well, I should do Quisp, right? And I thought, what about, Sugar Bear? So I just got carried away. And, anyway, so I did a bunch of those. Every Halloween, I do a set of these. And if they sell, then I'll do them again the next Halloween. But these haven't sold, so I didn't feel the need to do them. But I don't know if I could do these any better. This is Uncle Creepy. And again, this was not from Graybeards or anything. This is just for recreational purposes. This is Uncle Creepy, but the Wrightson version of Uncle Creepy, obviously. But just really happy with how this turned out. In fact, all of these I'm really happy with. That's Cousin Eerie from Eerie Magazine. And then The Vault Keeper from EC Comics. This is the Johnny Craig version, which is the best version. The Jack Davis version of the Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt. And then, of course, the Graham Ingalls version of the Old Witch from The Haunt of Fear. So I always do like these 5 horror hosts, unless if I've got them in my portfolio and they haven't sold, then I'm just like, well, why am I going to do them again and just fill a portfolio full of the same, so it doesn't make any sense. So there they sit, but just really pleased with how all these came out. Those are Garbage Man, just for why not? Then, of course, Hong Kong Phooey smoking. When I was on my cigarette kick there for a while. I was on Graybeards. The Grinch smoking for laughs. Now, this is one of the oldest pieces I ever did on Graybeards. This is Krampus. We did this on the very first Christmas episode, which was maybe like 4 or 5 episodes in. And there it sits still. But I actually thought it turned out really well. My Mobius Iron Man. Someone contacted me and wanted to buy this and then never followed up. So there it is. Still sits there. So Mobius, and this again was from Graybeards. Iron Man. I love this piece. I don't even know why I've got it up for sale. Because for those of you who watch the show regularly enough, know that Weird World or Warriors of the Shadow Realm from Marvel back in the 70s was like probably my favorite comic. And it was originally in at least the very first episode, I think, was in Marvel Preview, a Marvel magazine. It was black and white, and Plug did it. And then they did a Marvel Premiere number 38 as a color comic, and it was Plug inked by Alex Nino, and it features all these characters, that dragon and everything. And that's one of my favorite comics from that period of time. Then, of course, Buscema and Rudy Nebres did the Marvel Super Special version, Warriors of the Shadow Realm, which was full color. And, hand-colored, full color on the board. And but anyway, so I did this on Graybeards a while ago. And then we sold some of the smoking characters. There's Bigfoot smoking that kind of looks like Kelsey, doesn't it? Kelsey smoking. So I did Bigfoot smoking. A couple of Conan pieces I was just trying different lighting and inking, texture sort of technique things. And trying to create more volume with shadow work. I was probably looking at some Finch stuff, and I love David Finch, but I really admire, not since Wrightson has anybody placed blacks to create volume like David Finch does. And so I love his stuff, and I love the three-dimensional, the weightiness of his drawings. And I'm like, I gotta get, and being a Wrightson guy and a Frazetta guy, you'd think I'd use more black, but I don't normally. And so here I was attempting to do that just to create more shadow, and it does create more volume and depth to the characters. But I've done some headshots, right? These color headshots, the Hulk and Wolverine here, kind of fun, smaller pieces. I love this Frankenstein piece. I don't know why, but I do. And then I've got full color Dracula, kind of humorous take on them. And finally, this Kelly Jones version of Dead Man, which I also did on Graybeard Studio. So all these, folks, all these are available for sale. Most of them are on my website, but if you saw something in here like, man, I'd love to have that, check my website. If it's not there, email me and see if maybe I'd be willing to part with it. And I can guarantee you I will be willing to part with it. Recovering the Reformation for $10. Thank you, sir. He says, hi, Aaron. Have you ever been approached to do any art for role-playing games like Dungeons & Dragons or the Marvel RPGs? I did when Marvel was doing, they had some sort of card game, where you would have the, where you'd have the playing card, it'd have the character on the back, it would have like these different colored circles that had their different powers or whatever. And so some sort of card game. So I did a lot of art for those back in the 90s, but I never did anything for Dungeons and Dragons, or is it TSR? Is that the name of the company that produces those? Because most of that stuff is painted works, or at least it used to be. I don't know what they're doing now. And I had never really honed my painting skills. I think I'm good enough now as a painter that I could do it, given the opportunity. But I haven't really looked into it, and no one's ever approached me. So I suppose I could, send in some samples and stuff if they're still even, functioning like that. I don't know. Pantheon says the reason why your Frankenstein is annoying is because you forgot the scar. I think you might be right. Corum says old school is TSR. Now it's Wizards of the Coast and Hasbro. Hasbro has that? Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's, I'll tell you, as I get older, I'm less enamored with doing stories, which, I know that's, you guys are, that's why you're here, is because I'm a storyteller and I'm producing comic books that you guys want to read, hopefully. But I'm more interested in doing illustration, like illustrating a book, or doing a children's book with full color illustration, than continuing to grind doing graphic novels. Which I'm not going to stop doing graphic novels because that's what I do. But I would like, I wouldn't mind doing some other stuff. Anyway. Should you do a team up with Iron Fist and Hong Kong Phooey? That would be epic. I often sit around and talk mostly David Williams about, like John Byrne did his X-Men stories and just put them out there for free, like, so you could read them, and was like, we should do something, we should just, do a Captain America story that like the Nazi zombie Captain America, World War II Captain America story I have. I would love to just draw it and put it out there. And, David's got a Superman story he wants to do. So, I don't know what the moral of that story was, but, it's amazing the amount of stuff you really want to do. And you start realizing how much time it's going to take you to do just one of them. and then you got to reel it back in, kind of focus and say, okay, what's my priority here? And then get it, do them in order and hopefully get as much as you can done before God takes you away. Darren Wagner for $2. He says, I meant the 1931 Jekyll and Hyde earlier. Okay, good. Then we're on the same page. Skip Edwards says, do you own any of the rights and portfolios? I'm always watching, but haven't bought them for myself yet. I own them all, except there's one that I used to own. I sold my entire rights and collection when I was 18. I've told this story before because I was using him too much as a crutch, and I didn't. And he did some stuff in National Lampoon that I found really offensive, and so I just, I was like, I got to get rid of all this stuff. So I did, and one of those things, and of course, I've gone back through since then and repurchased just about everything. I mean, I had everything that Wrightson did, everything. Now I kind of pick and choose, but I do have the Apparitions portfolio, which is really great. And I have the limited one that has the extra black and white Conan print in it. So I have that. I have all three of the Frankenstein portfolios. I have there's an Edgar Rice Burroughs portfolio where he just did one illustration in it, and it was the Monster Men. It's great. And so I got that. There's another portfolio he did that has a single Frankenstein. It's like, I think it's called the Portfolio of Fantasy or Fantasy Portfolio. And it's got him, Jeff Jones, Kaluta, I think maybe Dan Green. No, that was in the Edgar Rice Burroughs portfolio with the Monster Men. Anyway, this is called the Fantasy Portfolio and has this Frankenstein piece that was not used in the book. And it's only in this portfolio, and I used to own it. And now I don't. It's super expensive now, so I'm not going to buy it again because I don't want to pay $800 or $1,000, whatever it's going for. But I wish I'd hung on to that because I didn't realize it'd be that hard to find again. But yeah, I have most of his portfolios, at least his good ones. Jimmy Owens for $2. Hope you are well. Thanks for the prayers. You're welcome, Jimmy. And we're always prayerful that you're feeling better. I know you have a lot of health challenges, just like Shelley does. And so always prayerful that you're feeling good. So thanks for joining us. Justin Side says, as a film student, I'm sure you wrote a few screenplays. Ever thought about turning one into a comic book? Yeah. Screenplay I wrote in school for an advanced screenwriting class that I got an A on. Woohoo! Was called Back to the Stone Age. And I lifted that title from the the Edgar Rice Burroughs book called Back to the Stone Age. That's the one with the Frazetta mammoth cover. And because it's such a great title. And it is about time traveling and going back to this, And so I have adapted that into something called Primal Zone, which is going to appear in Barbaric Magazine or Barbaric Adventures #1, which will be my next project. So there you go. Yeah, I did. And then I had an award-winning short screenplay that I turned into something that I just haven't used yet. So that's it. Wow. Talk about insightful. Yep. I thought that was one of the most disgusting stories I'd ever read. And I was really disappointed and I know guys don't have the same, beliefs or moral foundation that maybe I do, but I thought that story was so offensively raunchy and I was shocked. It was like my idol Wrightson, and I was a teenager when I saw it. It was like, I was stunned, and it sort of like, and then of course, as you get older, you realize people are going to do what they're going to do, judge people on their art, don't, and so that's kind of, but yeah, that was it. That what did it to me. It was that Bewitched story. God, It was really raunchy. Andino Palazzo is joining us. It was about Aaron suppressing his sexuality. Maybe. Blah, blah, blah. Can we see some Zeck covers now? The Zeck covers are only part of the show, okay? Jeez. All right. Well, I guess because Sequential Treasures is demanding it. I saved this in the Bigfoot videos for last because I know that's what everybody wants to see. Okay. Now, these are, of course, not making any judgment about whether or not these are his best covers. I'm just saying they're some of my favorite. Your mileage, of course, may vary. Let's start off with a nice, more recent. When I say more recent, I mean not like yesterday, but more recent than the 80s. I really like this Punisher cover. It's very simple, but you know what's interesting about this? And it's kind of my problem with coloring. I don't really feel like you get the entire impact of how good this piece of artwork is. But thankfully, I believe Marvel, I'm not saying the coloring's bad. I'm just saying that if you want to see how cool the artwork looks, look at the black and white variant. That, friends, is freaking awesome. Again, now you guys know I love a close-up or a big figure to draw my attention in. And this is just great. The gun sort of like just incredible perspective. Is so well drawn. The lighting effect is great. That hair. Zeck has done a lot of stuff, but his Punisher work is probably arguably his best work. Kevin Thomas says that's from the Punisher portfolio that Zeck did in the 80s. Okay. Well, they used it as a cover, so therefore it counts as cover art. And this is a $3.99 book, so this is probably within the last 5 to 10 years. But it's an awesome piece. Now he also did a series for our friends at DC with Batman called Batman 10 Nights of the Beast. I always kind of liked this cover because of all the work that went into doing the city. It's a nice, full figure of Batman swinging there. I like the kind of bulky thickness that he gives him. All the covers from this 10 Nights of the Beast are sweet. Very nice Zeck covers. And this is one of the series that now Bolin did one too, but I think that wasn't it was Bolin's the first appearance of the Beast. There was like a Beast series, and he's like the KG Beast, I think. There's like a Russian guy. Bolin did the covers for the first time, this first story arc that appeared with this character, and then Zeck did the second, or is that flipped? I can't remember, but the Bolin ones are really cool too. But I really like these Zecks, and I bought both of those simply because of the cover. Speaking of 10 Nights of the Beast, now there's like I said, every one of these is really cool, but I kind of like this one because again, we're closer on the figures. They're really big. I would argue that, you could debate whether Gil Kane or Neil Adams was the best cover artist of the 70s. I would argue that Zeck was the best cover artist of the 80s. Even his nondescript covers were still really, really good. I like the way he draws, and he always, not always, but mostly gives you these big figures on the cover that really lets you latch onto something. James fills us in. He says, no, Bolin did the second set, but it was with the NKV Demon, the predecessor of the Beast. Okay. All right. I never read the books. I just bought them because of the covers. That's pretty sad, isn't it? Or maybe I did read them and I don't remember because it was, the 80s. It was a long time ago. Okay, now this is from his run on Captain America. And can anybody guess why I love this cover? Because the Red Skull is MODOK. Are you freaking kidding me? I love the way that Zeck does the Red Skull. And with those, those almost detached eyebrows. I love the way he drew Cap. So you got this great figure drawing of him, of Zeck, central focused, and you got the Red Skull MODOK. Now, I'll tell you what I didn't like about this. Now, this is obviously a joke cover because you get the Marvel bullpen and all this kind of crap here. But the fact, this is when Captain America, Steve Rogers, was a comic book artist. And I hate that ridiculous self-reflexivity that they do when they do stuff like that. It drives me nuts. It was just so stupid to make him a comic book artist. But anyway, it's like breaking down the fourth wall, and you're just like, don't do that. Don't ruin the illusion for me. And then I couldn't see, his girlfriend's name was Bernice, and her name was Bernie for short. So she called him or he called her Bernie. And I was like, you had a girlfriend named Bernie? I was just like, God, give me a break. So anyway, Paul Taylor says he was always an artist. Was he? I guess he was, but dude, it's like, make him an architect then. Don't make him a comic book artist, because comic books should not exist in the comic book world. It's silliness. I hate it when they do that. And maybe that's just me, but there you go. But anyway, I love this cover mainly because of this freaking Red Skull MODOK. But anyway, there you go. This was also tough here. I do this one because I think it's iconic. I didn't really like the fact that whoever the artist was, Zimmerman, painted over it. I would have preferred it to been line work. But this miniseries was so great, in my opinion. And it was red hot when it came out. And again, what have we got here? We've got this huge image of the Punisher blasting away, getting shot at. It's just a really powerful cover. And there's like several good covers in this miniseries, but I thought this was probably the most iconic, so I went with this one. Although the one where he's standing in front of the human target, I kind of like a lot too. Bad Adam 12 for 10. He says, I see a problem with the Punisher piece. It'll sound nitpicky, but marksmen or people that have a lot of experience with scopes on guns keep both eyes open. It's bad for them to squint one eye. Yeah, but that's kind of like gangsters turning their guns sideways and shooting them. Nobody does that, but they think it looks cool, so they do it cinematically. So I'm always kind of like, it's a comic book, so it's like I'm more interested in what looks cool than what's accurate. And I think most readers are, but I do get it. Thank you for the 10. Okay, I just want to make sure I got all these super chats. But there was a series. I mean, they made posters out of these, didn't they, in the 80s? And this was like, I have really fond memories of this time period in the 80s, because there was that sort of, I wasn't around in the 60s. I mean, I was, but I was little. So I wasn't reading comic books in the 1960s. So I can't, like Gary Martin and Randy Emberlin, those are guys that, Graham, a couple years older than I am, they were more into the 60s stuff. And I just wasn't, that was all back issue stuff for me. So I came into comics in the 70s, right? So I have this love of comic books, and that sort of, you see it's like hearing a song and it takes you back to whatever period of time it was you first heard that song and the memories that go with it. When I see certain comic books, it reminds me of when I was a kid and, riding my bike to Plaid Pantry or 7-Eleven or whatever, and buying comics off the rack, and then discovering old bookstores that had back issues, and we'd go there. And, that was just kind of that fun period in your life where it was completely carefree, and comics, immersing yourself in comic book superhero stories and monster stories. And it was like your whole life. And so I have that in the 70s, a period in the 70s. But then I got back into comics. I never abandoned them totally, but when I was in college and stuff, I really wasn't reading. I didn't have any money to buy them. But it was like when I was in film school, so I was 21, 22, 1985, 86, in that area, I started going to Golden Apple Comics on Melrose because it's such a legendary comic shop. And then I started buying, and I got back into comics again. And there was so much exciting stuff going on with the independent markets, or the independent publishers like Pacific and First Comics and Comico or Comico. And then, Marvel was doing really cool stuff. And then Batman started to become popular again because of, in 89, when the movie came out, or the anticipation of the movie in the 80s. And then, so it was like a renaissance. The 80s was like a comic book renaissance. And so I was right there in the midst of it. And this is one of the books I remember going into comic shops. And even as a young adult, 21, 22 years old, getting excited and going, wow, this is really cool. I want to read this. Or I want to get Dark Knight, or I want to read Watchmen, or I want to get this Punisher miniseries, and all this kind of stuff. So this has very fond memories of my older youth, but still I would consider, you're 21, 22, you're still pretty young. So I have fond memories for a lot of this Zeck stuff. Paul Taylor, Canadian $10. Thank you, Paul. Hail, Aaron and chat. I seem to remember the Punisher getting arrested for antagonizing jaywalkers. Marvel was always conflicted about that character. Yeah, because it was like he was a very violent character by nature, but they were really confined because of the comics code about what they could do with him. They couldn't really have him killing people, but he was always trying to kill people. But that's what, I think that miniseries made him more super popular, because that's when he sort of became, he wasn't just a villain, he was an anti-hero, and treated as a hero that was really just killing bad guys. I agree with that. The Mike Mignola inked by Kevin Nolan cover is, and maybe we'll feature that when we get to around to doing a Mignola covers. All right, let's continue on our little journey here. I remember when this came out. See, I got these at Golden Apple too. So this would have been what, 86, maybe 87. This story arc, Jam DeMatteis and Zeck, this was freaking awesome. And I think it sort of was a response to The Dark Knight Returns. We're suddenly more serious darker stories were getting written and put into comics. And they started doing these like stories within a series. And these were like a 4-part thing. So it was like, oh, these from a collector's standpoint, these are going to be really hot, you know? And so they had a real kind of feeling of collectability about them. And yet you were right there when they came out, at least, I mean, I was, and buying these. And every one of these covers is great. And, but this is probably the coolest of all of them. There's a nice one. I think it was on, this story arc was spread out through Peter Parker, Amazing Spider-Man, and Web of Spider-Man. With 6 issues. So it's 2 issues of each. Is that right? Yeah, 2 issues of each. So 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man. I think it started in Amazing Spider-Man and maybe ended in Amazing Spider-Man. And then the first cover was great because it had that gun pointing down. Spider-Man was in the net and Kraven was going to shoot him. There's a really good one with the rat guy, Vermin. You know, it was on the cover of Peter Parker, where he was in the foreground and in the sewer, and Spider-Man was in the background. I mean, there's just a lot of good covers, but this is probably my favorite. They're all great. Yeah, and the one where Kraven's, you know, in the foreground, and there's got like the mounted heads behind him on the walls, another really good one. I mean, they're all good. But we can't show them all. But I mean, that's, you know, Spider-Man coming out of the grave, big, powerful single image again. You got to buy it, you know? And again, that's the purpose of a cover, is making the guy that sees it say, I've got to get this. I don't even read this series, but I've got to get this. Now look at this one. This one I just discovered recently, but man, this is really cool. You had some really good artists on Master of Kung Fu, from Starlin to Galassi to Zeck. There's some really good stuff in this book. I was never a big reader of it, but I probably, you know, I'm thinking I probably should go back and get like the collected editions, the essentials, you know, the black and white ones. There's some really, and this is a great freaking cover. And Zeck did a lot of good covers. Galassi did a lot of nice stuff in this book. As a kid, it didn't really interest me, but now as an adult, it does really interest me. And it makes me think, I should go back and check this out. Because I never bought them when I was a kid, because it was like, I always thought the artwork looked cool, but I was a monster kid and I was a superhero kid. And I wasn't, you know, this sort of Bruce Lee fan or anything. I mean, I didn't really know that much about Bruce Lee, and but this is a killer cover. It makes me want to go find this issue and read it. Kraven in the graveyard holding Spidey's black costume with a rain and light. Yeah, that's really good too. I should have put that one on this list. That was a really good one. But I wanted to get a little bit of variety. Now, I was also in film school when this came out. I remember buying this. What a dramatic cover. And this, again, simply, I think on the merits of this cover, this became sort of a hot book. This is just a great cover. Zeck was so good at designing like classic imagery or stuff that would become classic or instantly classic, iconic. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's iconic imagery on his covers. And all his characters were so powerful, and there was almost always these big centralized images that really pulled you in. No, you're right, because he became the Nomad for like 3 or 4 issues back in the 70s when I was a kid, and I remember buying that. Yeah, there's always a period of time, it seems like, where Captain America gets pissed off at the government and quits being Captain America. Kevin Thomas says, Aaron just never bought what Japan and China was selling, be it Kung Fu or anime. Well, I'm a big Bruce Lee movie fan now. I love that stuff. And I have different tastes now than I did when I was a kid, clearly, except for the monster stuff I still like. But I mean, I was like most of us, I was a superhero honk. And now I kind of like some of the other stuff that I didn't read when I was a kid. Now I can go back and explore it, and I should. So I'm going to put that down on my list. Master of Kung Fu. Like, get like a couple of essentials with all that Zeck and all that Galassi stuff. And I mean, it must have been good. It's like Tomb of Dracula. Everybody talks about how good Tomb of Dracula was. I never read it because Dracula, some dude walking around with a mustache and a cape, Errol Flynn biting people. I was like, I don't care about that. Now, if it was Nosferatu, I would have bought it. But everybody talks about how great Tomb of Dracula was, and it went on for years, so it must have had regular readership. And the same thing with Master of Kung Fu. It just went on forever. Here's another really good Master of Kung Fu cover. This is pretty iconic. I think we've all seen this. See, this is like 86. So I know, like Conan, Master of Kung Fu went over 100 issues, didn't it? Must have. I mean, if ever there was a book that was made for the 70s, this is it. Errol Flynn is awesome, Paul, but I don't want to read a comic book about him. If you're going to play Dracula, I want something that looks like a monster. And like Nosferatu looks like a monster. Dracula looks like a guy that has a porn mustache and, combed his hair. It's like, Anyway, look at this again. Close up, big centralized image. Focus is right there. Black cover. That always helps. This thing jumps off the page. A really, really nice cover. I wish I would have bought a bunch of these. I would have bought this series if I'd only been more astute. But anyway, this is fun. And it's again for the same reasons. I mean, if you guys haven't figured out what covers I like and why, you haven't been paying attention. But nice lighting, big centralized character, pissed off, shooting a gun at me. I mean, if I'm a Captain America reader, I'm buying this anyway. I wasn't at this period of time, though, because I read Cap pretty regularly in the 70s. This was my college years, and I had no money. So I had to be very particular about what comics I did buy. And I always bought Spidey. But there was so much like special stuff coming out. Like Secret Wars and like I said, Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, the miniseries, the Punisher miniseries, like I said, and then I got hooked on X Factor because of the Simonsons and those Barry Smith issues of X-Men and Daredevil and other things he did. I always buy those when they cropped up. Then McFarlane Spider-Man and all this stuff just sort of. But anyway, I didn't buy these, even though I loved the artwork, which was so unlike me. If I'd been a kid when he was doing this, like in the 70s, when every penny I had I spent on comics, I would have bought these. Now, I did buy this when it came out because it's freaking Deathlock. And Deathlock is a monster-looking dude. And this is a great cover. This is like T-shirt material right here. I love that Captain America. It's like it's a Captain America book, right? But he's focusing on Deathlock. So what do? You put Captain America right here in the viewfinder, which is dumb because that's not the viewfinder. That's the barrel of the gun. But anyway, that's cool. So you get a little bit of Cap here, but then you get this big old Deathlock. And I was always a Deathlock fan. I never thought they did him right. Although the miniseries with Jackson Geiss was pretty good when they redid Deathlock in the 80s, that prestige format thing, or I'm sorry, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, right? I was when I was trying to break in to Marvel. I remember going to Greg Wright's office, begging for work, and just looking at that Deathlock miniseries because I think he was editing that and checking out the artwork for it. That was cool. I do not believe that Deathlock ever battled Werewolf by Night, but man, that's an idea. That's a radar gun. So he's checking out how fast he was going. I'll take your word for it. And finally, we'll end this Zeck journey on this, which is probably, well, not probably, it is his most iconic cover and probably his best cover. This is, and not only is this Zeck's best cover, it's probably one of the best covers of all time. He finally quit doing recreations of this because everybody asked him to recreate this. And I'm sure he was just sick of it. Just going, I'm not doing this anymore. But this cover is just like crazy good. The high energy, you got Wolverine on there, you got Cap. And it's nice that he features Captain America because even though Wolverine was more popular than Captain America was, it is his book, right? And so, but you still get Wolverine. The lighting on it is freaking awesome. Again, the thickness and the power of the characters, the three-dimensional quality of the characters, the energy. It's like Kirby-esque in how powerful it is. Paul Taylor saying, I don't know how Aaron missed all of these Dracula movies because the lead is handsome. Sounds like insecurity. Well, if you want to meet an insecure person, talk to an artist. So that goes without saying. But I did watch Brides of Dracula, which doesn't get very good reviews. Like in fact, most reviews consider it a very poor film. I thought that was one of the scariest movies I ever saw. Peter Cushing was Van Helsing, I think. It was an early Hammer film. A lot of women running around in flowing nightgowns that were vampires. I thought that movie was scary. But I saw it as a kid though too. So, but it gets like horrible reviews. So I guess, maybe I'm in minority, and I will say the best vampire movie ever made, other than probably the silent version of Nosferatu, is Fright Night. And that has a handsome vampire in it, but he turns into a monster. So there you go. Very much a monster movie. I never liked Christopher Lee. He was scary though, I guess. Yeah, I saw Blackula and Scream. Blackula, Scream. I liked both of those. There you go. Jack Palance was Dracula with a mustache. Did not like that movie. Didn't do anything for me. Yeah, Brides of Frankenstein. I have not seen that, but Brides of Dracula I have seen. Yes, Fright Night is excellent. Chris Sarandon. Yep. That is a great, great movie. Funny, scary. The guy who directed that, I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Todd, no. Guys, help me out. Who wrote and directed that? He also did the Chucky movies, which are laughably bad. The first one, anyway, which starred Chris Sarandon as well as a detective. Tom Holland, thank you. Not the actor, but the writer-director. So he knocks it out of the park with Fright Night, which is just a great film. Roddy McDowall's terrific in it. It's just really, really good. And then he follows that up with Chucky, which is so absurd. I guess it's funny, scary. I just thought it was absurd, and I was laughing almost the whole way through the movie. And so I was kind of disappointed. I was like, this is the same guy that did Fright Night? And then it was like he did something else that was really bad. Didn't he do something with John Cusack, when he was a teenager or something? That I don't remember ever actually seeing the movie, but I'm aware of it. Paul Taylor says Roddy McDowall might have been his final film. It might have been. A really nice performance by him too. I heard Dracula Dead and Loving It was pretty scary. What's the one with the guy who's always tan? Love at First Bite. I mean, that was a comedy. It was a romantic comedy. That was pretty good. But George, the original rejected Ghostbusters librarian ghost was used in Fright Night. I didn't know that. I do like the Hammer film, the Oliver Reed Wolfman movie from Hammers. I love the makeup. I love it. It's one of my favorite werewolf looks. That movie is so freaking disturbing. But that was Hammer. There was always rape and torture involved in like most of their films, which I was never a big fan of. I never saw it. Yeah, George Hamilton, Love at First Bite, which I kind of liked. I thought it was kind of funny. All right. So anyway, there you go. That's my feelings on Mike Zeck Covers. And like I said, there's a million more. It's like he's like Gil Kane. I could just, even ones you wouldn't even think of, I like. It's like, because they're almost always these, like there's one where Captain America's laying in the sewer and he's got rats all over. That's a great cover. Lauren Hutton and Jim Carrey was in Love at First Bite. Were they? It's funny that people that like show up in those. I remember Lauren Hutton from American Gigolo. With Richard Gere's first like role or big role. I thought he was so cool because he had all those cool clothes. Sequential Treasures are telling me all the Zeck covers I should show, but I'm not going to, because we're at that time where I showed 13. Of course, it's incumbent upon you, the viewer, to go and look up other Zeck covers. I'm only here to kind of spark your interest and say, oh, I never really thought of Zeck that way, although most of you have, I'm sure, but there's a ton of great covers out there by him. But, there's also a ton of, well, not great Bigfoot videos out there. Excuse me. Oh, my goodness. All right, boy. Yeah, it's right, Paul. I am lazy. And I don't even deny that for a second. it's amazing how in 2025, so many more Bigfoot movies or films or clips are showing up. I wonder why that would be. Well, let's take a look at some of them and see what you guys think. I can tell you what I think, but I think it's really important for you guys to not be swayed by my cynicism, but to form your own scientific opinions based on the evidence we're about to see. Bigfoot standing in the snow. Yeah, that's him right there, apparently. Not doing a lot of moving. So I love how they changed colors so that it makes it look like they actually have more footage than they do. Is he doing anything? Is that just shadows in the trees, or actually something even there? Look, there it is, folks. There it is. Look at that. Look at that right there. That looks like Bigfoot. Here we see him back here from a distance. Now it's snowing, so I like that. They're talking about his arms being, and you can read it down there. You can read then you notice he says, then you notice the detail. What detail? These guys just gaslighting you to your face. It just drives me nuts. Look at the detail. There is no detail. Are you kidding me? And then he starts describing how he has these long arms. Where? I'm seeing black mass. Where are his arms? Look at right here. Look at that long arm. What am I seeing here? That's his head, right? I don't know what I'm looking at. I mean, look at how clear this picture is. Now, these are human beings walking down the street. And then they go through this montage of non-Bigfoot stuff, and they come back to this. But maybe the strangest part is it didn't even move. Yeah, that's really strange. Maybe that's because it's a shadow from something back there. It's like they knew she was watching him, so he just watched back. Whew. Incredible. It's incredible. Paul Taylor, that's not his arm. Okay. St. Patrick T says that's an effing bush, man. That's not see, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, what? All right. Now, this is Bigfoot and Son. You remember the show Sanford and Son? Here it is. Bigfoot and Son. Tell me what you think. Look at little Bigfoot. He's so cute. And then there's Daddy Bigfoot. Okay, the idea is to play this. Why is it not moving forward? Okay, guess I'll do it myself if it's not going to play. Why is this playing? How annoying. Okay. Okay, so this guy got this shot of Bigfoot and Son. We'll assume it's his son. It could be his daughter, I assume. And then he gets right to this tree and then it stops. Okay, so my question with this is, like most Bigfoot videos are, why is there only like 3 seconds of film when clearly he should be walking past? This should be like a 30-second pan shot of them walking through the woods, but it isn't. They just keep restarting the same like 3-second clip. Like that's going to convince us. This way. I mean, it's kind of novel. You got Bigfoot Jr. in there. What's Godzilla Jr.? Godzuki? Is that who that one? Little Godzilla? See, they just keep replaying the same. So my question then is, or what it leads me to believe then is that this is fake, that it's AI, that they created this, and it took them 6 months to create this much footage. And they're like, okay, I'm done. That's 3 seconds worth of footage. I'm done. Because even if it was a dude in a costume with his kid dressed up, you'd get more than 3 seconds, wouldn't you? Apex is like, Aaron, you know Bigfoot is fake, right? I believe that to be a truthful statement, but I'm compelled to examine all the evidence. And that's what we're doing here. And I get frustrated with these people's, their lack of creativity and their commitment to giving us something worthwhile. Donkey Kong's offspring is Donkey Kong Jr., right? I get that. Godzilla Jr. has touchdowns. Yeah, but that's Godzuki, right? His name is Godzuki? Or was that the cartoon show his name was Godzuki? Yeah, so again, you got the very human walk. Why don't we just get more of this? Why isn't this like a 30-second clip? So once again, I'm disappointed with the effort here. Now here we have something from a trail cam, allegedly. Now I like how the beginning of it is, as they're setting up the story, there's some nice AI here. And then of course, when we get to the actual footage, it's not quite so nice, but let's see what trail cam will reveal to us here. Okay, so this one's going to work. Okay, so here they've got all this setup, and these hunters found these bones laying near their trail cam, and they thought, could Bigfoot have been responsible for eating all these bones? Of course, they don't show us the bones. They show us this AI version of what these guys allegedly saw. And so there it is. Okay. Now, this is a monkey. Okay, so check this out. So you have this deer's butt walk in front of the trail cam, right? Right, walks right there. And then this fuzzy, ghost-like, magical gorilla man appears. But look, for how long? Yes, 3 seconds, maybe. Where's the rest of the footage? These aren't still photos. This is actually a camera filming. We see the donkey, or pardon me, the deer moving, or the horse, or whatever that is, moving in front of the camera. And then we get this guy, and he's only on for 2. Why doesn't he walk over here? Where's the footage of him walking over there or walking back? So when you're going to fake this stuff, right, what you do is you have him look like this, and then you have him turn and walk back off into the darkness. And then I'm not questioning why we don't have longer footage. But he steps into camera, and then the camera just stops. Why? Because the animation is done. It's all I can generate for free on AI is 3 seconds. And there it is. Woo, look at him dance. Do, 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 do. And plus, look at it. This is a monkey. This is not Bigfoot. This is just like a, come on, man. You would think with AI, we would get better than what we're getting. So, Creative Faye, there was infected monkeys released in an accident recently. Oh, that's reassuring. So now we get to, what is that movie? Terry Gilliam film, 12 Monkeys. Yeah. Wow. Paul Taylor says, I've never seen a biped that can run down a quadruped. There's truth right there. Everybody says it's too clean, even for black and white. Night vision. It's a 9-foot gibbon. Kevin Thomas says, Kelsey is the swamp ape. Which is the one of the southern squatches? Too many other ones out there. I would agree. This, speaking of too many other ones out there, would you believe The New York Sasquatch? Because you're about to see him.
It's in the motion of turning around and walking away.
Why am I getting volume on here? I shouldn't be getting volume on this.
Shot where we get to see its face. Zooming in, it's void of hair with dark black eyes.
I'm going to get shut down. Why is my stuff not working?
And the rest of its body is covered in thick, shaggy hair, a lighter color than typical in these creatures.
Hang on a second, I'll show it. This is Maximum Fear. I hate to steal other people's material, but for some reason I can't mute this, and I don't know why. I wonder, did I?
In this photo, we see some muscle definition in the calf area and in its triceps and shoulder.
Okay, look at it. There's Maximum Fear dude telling us we can see muscle definition in his shoulders and his forearms, which you can't see. So I'm getting gaslit.
But now in the third photo, it's completely turned around, looking like it's going to retreat back into the brush.
I'm even talking during this when I'm recording this. I'm refuting the guy going, you can't see anything.
Once again, skeptics say this could just be a costume or something.
Oh, really?
Which, judging by the photos, we can't tell for sure. So it's still up in the air.
So anyway, if you want to see a lot of this stuff, go to Maximum Fear's channel. Now, he takes this stuff off other places too, but I take it off from him so I don't have to do as much work a lot of the times. So I'll give him a plug. Okay, so this is trail cam, still photos. I mean, I'm okay with this. You know, it's potentially a costume. I love how it's blurred up, so you can just kind of see it, but you can't really see it. I mean, the face is interesting. You know, you got some matted hair in here. So I don't hate it, but I don't think it's all that great. Everybody's saying this is a Wookiee, and that may be true. Bad Adam 12. Bigfoot is fake, but Wookiees are real. Jerky sticks in his hand. Now, Legacy Special Effects designed that beef jerky Bigfoot guy, and I got to see the inside workings of Legacy when my son was a intern there, engineering intern there. That was awesome. Adam 12 wants to know, where is his crossbow and laser gun? No twigs or brush. I mean, in his fur, or so I don't know. This could be digitally placed in there. It could be a dude in a costume. But I wonder how much of any of Bigfoot footage we're seeing these days is people in costumes, because you don't even need to do it anymore, right? I mean, you can just fake the whole thing. This is, you know, not brilliant, but it's not bad. You know, it's blurry enough that you can't see the details, but it's not so blurry that you can't, you know, see what it is. So this is a nice, you know, if someone turned this into my Bigfoot class, I'd probably give them a B for still photos. Not bad. Not bad. Corey Landis says there's no dingleberries in there either. Well, we're not focused enough to really see that. Tiny head, and he looks like he's having trouble with his zipper. That might be, you might be right on there. Okay, how about, let's take a look at Foggy Bigfoot. Tell me what you guys think of this. This is in Washington State. I know there's a lot of people from Washington that watch this show. Have you ever seen anything like this? Why in the world am I getting volume on this?
It was slowly walking away from him.
I should not be getting volume on this. Am I going to have to mute myself?
It kind of kicks its legs out to the side as it walks, and it looks pretty stiff. It slowly walks away and disappears into the fog.
Let me try this again. Why am I getting volume on this? Okay, so here he is walking. See, I turn off the volume. It shouldn't give me the volume, and yet he's still giving me volume. Look at him walking. Do. Into the fog. I'm not sure if this is a bad actor or if this is bad AI. I don't know, but that walk is killing me. Yeah, admittedly, Paul Taylor saying it's another boomer moment, and it's true. Technology is not my friend, and I've never claimed it was. The fact that I'm actually able to put this show on at any level is remarkable. So I don't think you should be criticizing me. You should be celebrating me. Yeah. Is he drunk? Is he coming back from a party? And it's like, it's like early in the morning. So there's all this fog. He's doing the Bigfoot shuffle. Yeah. See, I think this is more likely a guy in a suit, because I think if you were AIing it, it wouldn't look that bad. So it's got to be just bad acting, right? Or could it be the real thing? Could we be mocking Bigfoot when really the joke's on us? I keep hoping that someday we're going to get that one. We've had a couple on this show. Now, they were a long time ago, but we've had a couple clips that were pretty good. And you're like, yeah, I might actually think that's real. Apex says that's Kelsey after a party. Says, I see the guy on YouTube do that dance. Creative Face says, Aaron, have you thought of doing a mentorship where your students do pages for you for your other stories, so they pay you to do work for you? That sounds kind of underhanded. No, I have not thought of that. Because if you have students, some are going to be better than others. And it's like, do I use this guy's stuff because I think it's good enough and this guy's not good enough yet, so I don't use it, and then someone gets their feelings hurt, and I don't know. I can barely manage my own career, let alone somebody else's. I do know some guys really went, when I did Studiosaurus back in the 90s with Gary, Terry Dotson, and Randy Emberlin, and Carl Kiesel, and Matt Clark, and Ron Randall, and Rachel Dodson, and later Ann Timmons, and trying to manage that was just crazy. Matt Haley was in there. So when that dissolved after about 2.5 years, some other guys picked up the mantle and they did something called Periscope Studios. Jeff Parker, some other guys who I'll think of in a minute. But they formed this really well-functioning studio where they were taking, and I think they still exist, and they were taking like on commercial jobs, So they're doing comic book work, commercial art. Then they started getting they did mentorships for, they would have interns, like college interns come in and work there and do stuff. And I was like, they really had it going on. And I was like, I tipped my hat to them because I always end up running these things, but I don't really want to do it. And I'm not the right kind of personality. I'm too easygoing. I let people get away with murder. And then I get so pissed off, then I explode. And so it's like, so we never, and I had some really prominent artists at the time, like Carl Kiesel was very busy. Terry was very busy. Matt Haley was very busy. And so it was like trying to get guys to do other things other than what they were doing for Marvel or DC was very challenging. But these guys had a bunch of like-minded guys that were, apparently all on the same page, and they were, they're just created this like functioning commercial arts studio, which is what I started in back in the late 80s, early 90s. And they did their own version of that and were very successful. So I don't know. All that to answer the probably not going to do a mentorship thing. I just do not have the patience anymore. And I don't know that I ever did. All right. This is the most frustrating Bigfoot video I've ever seen. It is the ultimate gaslighting, video. And I'm just going to, you tell me what you're about to see here. This is in Borneo. And I actually believe it is from Borneo. So go ahead and take a gander at this. This is all fake. Here we go. All right. It's not a bear. It's not this. It's not that. Take a look at this. And you tell me what this is. Because they're telling me, as I'm watching this video, that this is a new species of Bigfoot. Just watch, it gets better. What is that? I think we all know what that is. And yet they're denying it right to your eyes. Look at that. A pronounced brow ridge, a flat, wide nose. And what made it truly chilling was they were saying that it wasn't aggressive. It was like intelligent. And they had this film. I cut it, but look. Are you kidding me? This is an orangutan. I mean, it's clearly that's what it is. And they're acting like it isn't. It was driving me nuts as I was watching these guys narrate that. And okay, so then we got a commercial break, and that's when I ended it. But the video goes on, and they throw the thing an apple, the orangutan, and he catches it and then eats it. And they're like, it's intelligent. Must be a lost species of Bigfoot. And I'm like, I mean, what did they take us for complete idiots? Oh my gosh. Yes, it's Dr. Zayas. This is what I'm talking about. This is what drives me nuts. Is you go and watch this stuff. Actually, hey Siri, what's the toothbrush on the Today Show? This is so obviously an orangutan. And they're sitting there telling you that's not what it is. I was incensed watching this, and I had to share it with you. So there you go. This is what we're getting for Bigfoot videos now. That we're apparently, they think we're all so stupid that we have no idea that that's an orangutan. What is that strange creature on the riverbank? I threw it in an apple and it caught it. It's highly intelligent. Look at it. It's putting its hand out and warning us away. Oh my gosh. I've seen this video, and to be honest with you, I think we've shown it on this show. And I think I've seen that. I think we've shown that on this show. And I still think it was fake. But I do notice what you're talking about. That is a cool looking orangutan, though. Like the coat, it's like he's wearing a robe almost. I was thinking of Jungle Book, you know, King Louis. Yeah, Any Which Way, Every Which Way But Loose, then Any Which Way You Can was the sequel with Clint Eastwood and his orangutan. Right Turn, Clyde. You know, people thought those movies were stupid when they came out, but I loved them. I thought they were funny. I mean, I'm not exactly sure why Clint did them, except maybe he had a sense of humor. But I actually thought they were pretty good for what they were. The orangutan's smarter than the film's creator. I think you're probably right. So anyway, that, ladies and gentlemen, is not finding Bigfoot this week. And once again, we didn't find him. But what you can find is great deals on my website if you're looking for back issues. Wraith of God 1 and 2, Kit Carter, prints, original artwork. It's all there, folks. And you'll find a link in the description of this video. It'll take you right there. Again, if you're here late, I gave an update on Wraith of God 3, showed all the extras that come with it. Those are all here. We're just waiting on the books from the printer right now. I will have a date, I hope, this week that I'll be able to share with you all, and then we can start counting the days down. But anyway, thank you guys. Thank you all for the super chats, for your continued participation in this crazy show. Randy Hall says for $2 Canadian, thank you. It has to be real. Kelsey can't be everywhere. Interesting and true. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you here next week at the same time right here on Aaron Live. Good night, everybody.
Mr. Tambourine Man!